Right, let's debunk that one, shall we? We really need to. Nottingham Forest lose again on the road, and just in general to a Brighton team who had lost 3 games in a row before this, conceding 8 goals and didn't score either. So what better time to play, and who better to play than Nottingham Forest, because you're guaranteed to look really good all of a sudden. It's happened many times. A team in poor form players, and they're suddenly, well, they weren't even amazing. But that's the thing that I found particularly concerning, especially in the second half. Brighton didn't even need to do much at all to look so comfortable in the game. Like, first half, they were totally dominating the match, completely dominating it. We had barely any chances at all. Second half, it was actually more Forest doing the attacking, and yet Brighton looked just, like they weren't going to concede, and that's really concerning. The team quite clearly has quality, but then it also quite clearly has an amazing ability at being terrible. So you see what I mean? I'm just pretty concerned. Then with the points deduction looming over us, this is the thing. I think we've got more than enough quality, certainly compared to other teams around us, but there's an awful lot of ifs going on here, and I'm just really not convinced. I think we can stay up, but I'm just not sure. We've got to talk about the lineup, haven't we? Because it's a big talking point in general, but don't really know what Nuno was thinking here. No wingers involved, or just a very weird shape. I mean, some were speculating whether Dominguez was going to be out wide, Origi out wide. As it turns out, it was more Wood and Origi as strikers, and then you got Morgan as a 10, and Dominguez where he should be, but 3 midfield, and then the same back 4 as Liverpool. But I mean, I'm not totally against that shape, but I do not understand why you'd not play Hudson-Odoi and Alanga and Tyro. Like, at least one of them should be on the starting 11 at least. It made for a very strong bench, but it made for very little outlet. And if you look at most of the goals this season, they've involved Anthony Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi. So why on earth would you take both of them out? I just don't understand that thinking. No Gio Reyna either. Is that there's going to be another waste of time? I know he's had an injury recently, but it just feels like it's going to go in that direction. Just nothing to shout about at all from the very get-go. Forest were actually pressing quite high, and then we just ended up being completely pinned in our own half. And the concerning thing again is just very little urgency or desperation to actually win the ball back and have a go at Brighton. Just again that same old tactic, and it's what it feels like. It feels like a tactic now. Let's just wait for the opposition to score, because that's essentially what we're doing. Just sitting back, not really doing a great deal. When we do get the ball, giving it away very, very cheaply, and it was just a matter of time before they scored. And the goal, one of the scrappiest goals you'll ever see. Would you believe it? It was a set piece, I know. Shock of the century. I might do a video looking at all of our set pieces, because it's insane, quite frankly, how many set pieces we concede and then how little we score from them. And this is probably one of the worst, because it's just so cheap and scrappy. And when Balotelli, I think, has been fantastic since he's come in, but totally misses the header. And Matt Sells, he's certainly better than Turner and Vlachodimos, but completely misses the attempted catch or punch. And yeah, it was coming, and we didn't really learn a lesson. It could have easily been more in the first half. We come out in the second half without making any changes, and then, like I say, it was kind of the opposite. It was suddenly Forest doing a lot more attacking, with Brighton having the odd chance, but it was particularly Forest. But it wasn't really that threatening either. Again, Brighton just still looked so comfortable in the game. It didn't look like they were going to concede, and we just didn't look like we were going to score. I'm trying to think of clear-cut chances we had, and all I can really think of is Forest just playing down the wings, or Toffolo and Nico trying to play balls in. Either the ball doesn't actually reach where they intended, or they don't even get a cross in the first place. I can't actually think of anything that Chris Wood did today, and that's not even really a dig at Wood. It's just there was no service to anyone in that attack. That's all it really felt like. It was just Forest getting the odd opening, but not really actually creating anything at all. I'm just struggling to think of anything. Czech Kyoto had a chance right at the end. Don't really know why he came on for our most creative and probably best player when we were chasing the game. That was a bit of a weird one. Very defensive. Sangare made a return in the second half as well. This, messiah that's meant to be Sangare that's going to save our season, and that is negative, okay? But so many people are going on about him being the saviour, and, I hope he is. I really do. I hope he is. But so far, besides that Newcastle game, he's just not been good enough. For what we paid for him, he's not been good enough. And that could sound brutal because he's not played for 2 months for Forest over that. But when he has played, I think it's fair to say he's underperformed, especially for that price tag. Yeah, I hope he can start getting moments in games and opportunities to prove us all wrong. And, I'm not even being patronising by what people say about him, but I just... we need someone to replace Mangala, and I hope Sangare can be that. But I just don't think we should put all of our hopes on Sangare because he just hasn't done it. So that was my Ibrahim Sangare rant, but I was glad to see him come back, but I'm not going to put my hopes on him. I mean, in general, it was a very scrappy game, and I've not even mentioned the fact that Brighton should have had a red card because Moda 2-footer challenge into Nico, it should have been a red card. I swear this referees just make it up as they go along, honestly, and it's nothing to do with the referee today. We were just very poor. It's nothing to do with the referee. Even if they had 10 men, I don't think we would have equalised. But by the laws of the game, I think they should have had a man off. And, that's as simple as that. Sorry, quite a negative review this, but it's a negative situation and a massive, massive game next week against Luton away. I really do feel that could be a very, very, very significant game in terms of how the season goes, with the points deduction looming over us. That's bad enough as it is, but with that gap, but it could even be close to 1 point before we play them, because they play Bournemouth in midweek, which is makes it even more stress-worthy. So if they were to beat Bournemouth and then they were to beat us, or I don't know about draw, they could even overtake us, but it's not looking good in that regard. We absolutely need to be beating Luton. I don't even think we can accept a point, but I'm not even confident about going there, if I'm entirely honest. Luton may have been on the decline recently, but they've still had an awful lot of good moments at Kenilworth Road, and their team spirit is through the roof. So fair play to them for that and how it went at the City Ground. I'm not at all confident against Luton next week. We need to be winning. But I'm not going to have any expectation other than let's just see what happens. So fun times. 4 defeats in a row. But like I say, the next several games are pretty defining, if you ask me. We've obviously got Spurs still to come, and Chelsea and Man City still to come. So some of the big 6, can't really count Chelsea in it as much. So it's a big opportunity. But so far, we haven't got off to a good start today. I hope we can change that, and it has to change, because if it doesn't, I think we're in some pretty big trouble. But let's just see what happens. If you have enjoyed this very positive review, then please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new. Yeah, fun times. Up the Rads. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.